Welcome to ILP Writing, Web Journal and ILP Writing. For those of you that are second years, you're probably wondering why I brought you back. And you're going to hear the same thing. You're bored tonight, and I understand. Our data says that we still have some work to do. To my mentors, this is your second or third or fourth time to do this, and you're already rolling your eyes and wondering why am I here. And to you, I apologize, but we want to get this right. And to our first year mixed students, welcome to an exciting night of ILP Journal Writing. So we're going to use your time wisely, and I will tell you that in the previous 3 sessions, we've been getting out somewhere between 6:15 and 6:30. So I have, is that chair occupied?
Yeah, Niall is coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any other empty chairs in the house? One here?
There's one here.
Sorry.
That's okay. My friends are over here though.
Your friends are over there.
That's the problem.
Here, I'll take your chair. Grab that chair.
I'll take that.
You will take, okay, thank you, Amanda.
Perfect. You're awesome. Thank you. Just right there. Perfect.
Hello, friends. Congratulations.
All right. First things first, if you haven't yet joined the Google Classroom, the join codes are on the board. This year we're asking our mentors to join a Google Classroom. We have tried using the Google folder share. We're going to try it this way this year to see how it works. One of the nice things about using a Google Classroom is that when we drop a document in there, an announcement, it generates an email. So our mentors should get an email as soon as we put something into the classroom. And there is a catch. If you are working for one of our schools in the county, your Golden Valley or Chowchilla or Oakhurst, Bass Lake, your email from your district may or may not work. It requires an electronic handshake between the 2 districts. It's well outside my scope of understanding. Some districts have shaken hands with our district and some haven't. And so if it doesn't work, you'll need to use a personal Gmail. And I know that the personal Gmail works. So if you're in the county and you're not able to get in the classroom, you'll need to use a personal Gmail account. Real briefly, in your table groups, I would like for you to take an opportunity to introduce yourself. We're going to consider this long group in the L shape back here as one table group. I'd like for you to tell us your table, who you are, and what your role is tonight. So are you a MIC 1, a MIC 2, an ECO, or mentor? And where are you teaching? Or if you're retired. Ready?
I'm Megan. It's in my room.
Three, two, one. Okay. Tonight we're working on the ILP, the Individual Learning Plan. Standards from the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, also known as CTC, that oversees all of the credentialing programs in the state, has written program standards, and the standards say that we must write our learning goal within the first 6 weeks of school. So we're going to do that tonight. But I will tell you that it's not etched in stone and that you get a chance to change it. In fact, there's a couple of dates coming up when we're going to require you to change it or update it. So there's an update that's due in December and another one that is due in March. Okay? If you're a year one MIC person, would you raise your hand, please? You're going to be writing, well, I'll tell you, the CTC said that we have to show proof of growth for all 6 of the California standards for the teaching profession. We call the CSTPs, which is also how you're evaluated, by the way, by your sites. They use the CSTPs for the standards in which to evaluate. CTC says we need to show growth in all 6 standards. Number 6, if you're looking at that little blue placemat, is professional development. Since this is a professional development program, we're not going to write to number 6. So we looked at how to do this, and I'll tell you that each of the districts do it a little differently. I'll take them up here just a bit. And a little bit differently, and we decided that we wanted you to write each of these 5 goals. So, year 1, you're writing to standards 1 and 2. Year 2, you are writing to standards 3, 4, and 5. And if you're an early completion option, or think you're going to be, you get to choose 3 of the 5. At this moment, I want you to turn to your mentor and tell her or him what standards you have to write goals for. All right. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So we thought about. I will tell you that I have a kind of a generic idea of who our MIC teachers look like and their age and their gender. And for 8 years, 9 years, it's been somebody that's between the ages of 22 and 28, and 75% of them are female. And it's not only their first career, but for many, it's their first full-time job. And this year, y'all have blown me out of the water. It's completely different. And all of the kind of the stereotypes, if you will, that I've held on to have vanished. This year we have much more diversity, both racially and in gender, and y'all are old. Sorry.
Thanks.
You're much older.
Yeah.
All right. Having said that, we are going to start you where you're at now. And so we're not going to assume that all of you are fresh out of college and are barely learning how to do your thing. Still, the question is for a first year teacher, how do I write a goal? How do I know where I'm at? And so we have some things that you should have already done, unless you're Ethan. We wanted you to take a look at your TPAs and the transition plan from the Institute of Higher Learning, Fresno Pacific and Fresno State called the Individual Development Plan. And you probably sat down with your master teacher and wrote some goals, and they said, please take this to BITSA when you get to it. And you, well, BITSA, there's no more BITSA, but that's all right, this is it. And some of you came to induction orientation with it in hand, and you had it in the jacket, and some of you had it laminated. And we wanted you to take a chance to, take a moment to talk about that with your mentor, and just think about where you were in the spring and where you're at now. We also asked all of you to do a site administration consultation or orientation, but I only asked you to do it once. So if you did it last year or even the year before, we asked you just to pull it out, scan it, and put it into the classroom. And then we asked all of our first years to do the self-assessment using the continuum of teaching practice. And that's the one that's big. It takes about 2.5 hours, yes? Okay? A little more in depth, but it really begins to point the compass to where you need to write goals. Second years, we asked you to review all of that and to review last year's presentation and to pull out your evaluations. We would ask that you share your evaluations with your mentors. They are hired and signed a contract with me that said their conversations would be confidential. And we have emphasized that in our meetings, that they are not allowed to rat you out, nor to gossip about you in the teacher's lounge. They are allowed to brag about you, but they're not allowed to gossip. You know the difference, okay? So I would really, really encourage you to share your evaluations with your mentors, especially as we begin to write our ILP goals. If you have written goals for evaluation, pre-evaluation goals for the year, we encourage you to use the same essence or same thought, the same goal on your ILPs so that you're working on the same thing all year long. We all know that our veteran teachers are challenged to write goals, and then they don't think about them again for 2 more years. But you're going to be thinking about your goals every week because it's a topic of conversation. All right. When you're writing your goals tonight, I told you what standards you are going to choose, but we want you to pick one element from that standard. So here's an example. Standard 1, and then we want to skip down a little bit to 1.5. This is the standard to which this goal is going to be written to. Same with the idea of developing, communicating, and maintaining high standards 2.5. So you'll need to drill down a little bit and actually find the exact element that you are going to be writing to. Okay? All right. Let's take a look at the ILP directions. And I wish I had put page numbers in there. But on the second to last page, I believe, is the rubric. The last one. Second to last page is the rubric. All right. Mentors. I would like for you to read to your induction candidates just in this first row that pertains to the goal, there's one little box. What does not pass the rubric for writing your goals? Please read that to your mentors. Mentors, please read that to your induction candidates now. All right, stop. Induction candidates, even if you have to choral read, because there's 2 or 3 of you, I would like for you to read what does pass the rubric to your mentor. Ready, go. Please turn to this page.
No. Oh, the blanket.
Should have put page numbers in there. Sorry, guys.
Did you get all that?
I see that progressive commercial. I want you to turn to the page that starts with that. It's about this far in. Okay.
The blank one or the filled in one?
The blank one. All right. We want this goal to be about you and about teacher growth. And I've been half joking, half serious about creating sentence frames for goal writing. But essentially, you're almost going to start your sentence by saying, I will improve, get better at, deepen my understanding, enhance. We'll show you some synonyms in a moment. But this goal is completely and utterly about you. So induction candidates, I want you to point to another induction candidate and say, this goal is about you.
This goal is about you. En español toca.
All right. Here's where we're struggling. Somehow, our goal morphs into what the students are doing. So in the rubric it says it's tied to student achievement, but that's actually going to come in the outcome. Okay? Right now, we're going to talk about you and how you are going to get better. Okay? Once you decide what you want to get better at, how are you going to learn about improvement? We call that our pathway, and we're going to go over that in a few minutes in depth. How are we going to prove that you're getting better as a teacher? So let me ask a question. If the Madera Tribune came to your classroom and said, Sally Johnson, you are hitting it out of the park. We want to write a newspaper article about you. And the title of the article is, Sally Johnson reduces disruptions in her class by 20%. Do you think that's what the paper would write about? Sally got her disruptions down 20%. Or would she write, Sally Johnson raised test scores by 20%? Which one do you think they would write? So they know you're a good teacher because, why? Test scores are up. All right. So we're going to talk about teacher growth through the lens of student outcomes. Say it with me. Teacher growth through the lens of student outcomes. In other words, if you're getting better as a teacher, we can prove it because student achievement is getting better. Make sense?
Yes.
Let me ask this question. We asked it last night. Think about your favorite teacher for a moment. Think about your favorite teacher, and there's probably a good probability that the reason you are here is because of that teacher. They inspired you in some way, and they challenged you, right? All right, so think about the qualities of your favorite teacher of all time. And my favorite teacher was Lorraine Gould, who taught both 4th grade for me and 6th grade. I got to get her twice at John Adams. And if you talk to anybody that was in John Adams at the time, we all say Mrs. Gould, by far and away, the best teacher you ever had. All right, so the question is, well, let's do this. Just like last night, I want you to share the qualities of your favorite teacher with your mentor or induction candidate sitting next to you. Why was that person your favorite teacher of all time?
You gave a couple of sentence frames for the goals starting with I will. Could you repeat those?
I'm going to show you some. There's some examples in your packet. All right. Okay. I'm going to guess that your favorite teacher had high expectations for behavior and high expectations for academics. And I'm also guessing that this teacher didn't allow you to goof around much in the classroom, right? And maybe you might have loved this teacher, but you're also a little afraid of him, right? Right? Don't mess around in her class because you know what, right? How did she get you to perform at a high level? Did she believe in you? I see you saying she. That's 75% of our staff is she. Did they challenge you? Did they make you believe you could do more than you thought you could? Did they ever accept a half an effort? No, they wanted the whole thing, didn't they? We're going to ask you to do the same about yourself tonight. To think about how I can get better and challenge yourself to grow as a teacher. And we're going to measure that growth, and you're going to present that growth in the spring. All right. So the question was, could I repeat the I will, improve, I will. There are in a list of examples. There's 2 samples of ILPs in your packet tonight. There is also a list of examples of goals. I will improve my ability. I will improve and be more consistent. I will expand. I will increase. Look at the last one, though, I wrote. I will review student work to improve the rigor of the curriculum. Is this teacher growing? How is this teacher growing? Examples of goals. That last one says, I will increase my use of, I will review student work to improve the rigor of the classroom. Is that a teacher growth goal or a student growth goal? What do you think? I will review student work to improve the rigor of the classroom. Is that about the teacher or the students? What we really need to say is, I will improve my ability to increase the rigor. I will deepen my understanding of classroom rigor. Okay? I will enhance my ability to develop rigorous lesson plans. See the difference? Okay. Questions? All right. There are several synonyms up here that you can use, but at this time I want you to work with your mentor and write just the goals. Don't worry about pathway and outcomes yet. We'll talk about that in a moment. I want you to write your individual goals for the year. Here are some words that you can use in your sentence. So. Attention, sorry, I forgot to mention one more thing. I know many of you have your laptops out, and that's great. But tonight, I need you to write it on the paper because we're going to pass them around. And I don't think you want to pass your laptop around and then have it come back with whiteout on it. So make sure you write it on the paper. You can write it on the sticky note if you want. You're going to locate in the center of the table. But write it on your... Move on.
Yeah, they don't look, yeah. They're similar, but the way they come down. So what was your, what would you use on your, this is exactly what you said.
Modify the structural we can reword in some, but I wouldn't customize
Because I think but there was one that was a dog, and this is a female. Yeah, this is that. Maybe in the And remember that our enemy is like, yes, it's and you decide you want to do two, you can go in and say, I want to do this. Or I want to do this one instead.
So that's the goal.
She's like that.
No te pones aquí con eso, para que salga y lo manda. Pero por eso yo para que así, si no puedo hacer esta, alguna que hacer esta y hago de esto, lo voy a hacer de Yeah, writing, do it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said last time. Which is going to be good examples of things in there. Yeah, writing the social letter conference.
Because I feel like last year it was kind of like, I think we should start the year with no for really specific ones. I'm like, okay, let's take a picture. What are you thinking for that one? But I'm like, thinking it's
But that way she has someone to that's why I put that one. Your growth that's hard.
It's so tough. Like you need to talk in their hair, and I'm just like, it's just like, not do the
Like the home is familiar. They're like, well, I don't
know what. So like we're all like working the shirt and all these, and then it's like how many more when you just help me with the and then all these things are it's really complicated for this. I'm just kind of like, whoa, for sure everything's so advanced, so I'll just one sentence, but I can't even get through it. Like in English, I would do like a sentence and kind of pause and there's a comma, and then in English, I have to pause for 2 different spots, and then I don't want to sound awkward, you know. You're like, if it says English, so I gotta keep going, but that's the first time those things, it's not they're not Spanish speakers, so I have to go like really slow and not do this, so I'm passing along. So
kind of like one of
It's so funny because they all want to translate from each other. They all want to help each other. I'm like, no.
No, that's the good deal. I like that. They on this one they do like
Yeah, I would say if my goal is to best write, you have like I will blah blah blah, and then you have my voice.
How many gonna need a few more minutes? About 3? 4 minutes?
Yeah, I know. No, why don't we just keep this smartphone idea? That's such water. The word is that I I know, right? So that's
So you go to your text.
Okay.
I'm telling you, you should have read it every time you sit there. The longest thing is all the time. It is wonderful. And if you want to influence the You will too after you time. And you just tell me this, and I'm I just read it. I'm not hungry anymore. Yes.
All right, here's what we're going to do. I want you to go back to the rubric. Make sure you have the rubric out. That's the one we read to our mentors, and our mentors read to us. Make sure you have that rubric. You're going to need it. Make sure you have your rubric out. And then I want you to take your written goals, get old school on a piece of paper, and I want you to pass it to two people to your right. Pass it to two people to your right. I want you to use the rubric. Listen up, guys. And I want you to pretend tonight that you're one of my readers. And I want you to read this person's goal in light of the rubric and ask the simple question, does it meet the standard or doesn't it? And you're allowed to comment, but I'll give you this catch. Please be kind and gentle so that 10 people don't come to me afterwards and complain. Please be kind and gentle, but I want you to peer review your goal. Good. This
that was my
But you know that the students are really the concept is how make it better. Don't learn. You're not talking about what's your content. Did you pass it too? Oh, okay.
Yeah, how do we analyze it and make sure it's not tight?
So we're going to get that part comes in the output.
I like to
No, because we were left it blank for a while. We're still trying to handle it.
I like to play it with not instructions.
No, we were discussing that really quick.
No, I know.
What if you like goals to for establishing learning goals to improve
All right, did they pass? Back to the owner.
You don't want to improve the instructional planning, you want to improve your
That's right. Okay.
Does that work?
Then my so which one is it? These two are kind of very similar.
Three, two, one. All right. Now I would like for you to turn to the page called Professional Development and ILP Research Menu. Like this. Professional Development and ILP Research Menu. I feel like Anna. I would like for you to circle or underline or use your Makoso or whatever. I would like for you to identify on this page things that you are already doing. Identify on this page things you are already doing.
As long as when you type yours, you can walk.
Oh, yeah. So,
do you want to clean it? I got one on
I know that's been showing itself.
You got this one? Is that the one? Yeah, you got this one. Yeah, I think they just folded it apart. No, that's this one.
No, like, yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right. Now that you've done that, I want you to turn back to that individual learning plan blank you wrote on. I'm going to have you make some notes. The pathway, the goal is one goal. One goal. Our standards are multiple pathways. And you're going to ask me, well, how many is that? And I'm going to tell you, it's up to you. It has to make sense, but the wording that we use is multiple, so it's probably more than 2, probably more than 3. You'll notice that we're not really asking you to go outside and do a whole bunch of new stuff. Most of what we're asking you to do, you're already doing. Okay? So you're going to begin to list pathways that will help you improve in your goal. So those pathways have to be closely aligned. They really have to tag in well with your goal. Okay? And then we're going to write one outcome. So one goal, one outcome, multiple pathways. Okay. On your ILP, I want you to write this down, because part of your pathway includes 2 things. This is mandatory. Number 1, you will observe 4 other teachers this year. 2 in the fall and 2 in the spring. Write that down in the pathway box. I will observe 4 teachers. Okay? 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring. If you are a first-year MIC, I want you to do your first observation on Standard 2, Classroom Management, and I'd like you to get that done before the end of October. Okay? If you're in Year 2, you can do whatever you want as it relates to your ILP goals. But Year 1, your first one needs to be about classroom management, and we'd like you to do it before the end of October. How do you arrange for observations? We want you to work with your mentor and your administrators on campus to find out who you should go see. No, this is not the time that we get to go watch our buddy in Fresno on a Friday afternoon. That's not what we're doing here. Okay? We are observing teachers that help you understand how to improve in your goal. Okay? If you're in Madera Unified, the minimum amount of time you can take is a half a day. So we would ask you to kind of think ahead and maybe do both observations in the same half morning. The question always comes up, how long should our observations be? And our answer is 1 whole lesson. It's real simple for single subject. That's a period. We'd like you to get in there before the class starts, stay for a minute or 2 after, to watch everything. How do they come in? How do they leave? The whole 9 yards. For our elementary teachers, we want you to see a whole lesson. That may be 90 minutes. Okay? But we want you to see it from start to finish. Okay? That's why we say, if you're taking a half a day sub, you can probably see both teachers on the same day. Yes?
Could we use our primarily teachers of
30, could I use the time after it instead of asking?
Heck yeah! Woo! That's less money I spend. All right. You don't need a sub. Don't worry about it. Okay? So yes, you can go on your prep, provided you understand that the times that you were going to work during your prep, you are now going to have to do in your own time. Yes. All right. The second thing I want you to write is this. My mentor will observe me 4 times. 2 times in the fall, 2 times in the spring. Now, sometimes I've heard back from induction candidates that when they talk to their principal and they get their sub form signed, the principal starts talking to them. What are you doing? Oh, I'm observing. Oh, I only want you to observe teachers on Acme campus. You can only see them here on our Acme campus. And I will tell you that's a mistake, and that's not what we're doing. Yes, you can observe teachers on your campus, but I also want you to get off. Why? Because you're not getting an Acme credential or a Washington Elementary credential or Rancho's Middle School credential. You are getting a California credential. And so we would like for you to see a variety of things. Contrary to popular belief, you may not spend the next 29.5 years on the site that you are currently at. Veteran teachers, how many times have you changed? Have you changed campuses ever in your career?
Oh, yeah. Just a few.
Right? Some of you changed like Southern Cal to Central Cal, right? How many of you changed districts? Just curious. Look at that. All right. Any of you start out of state and come in? We have some even now in our program. That I have one from Washington. We've had them from all over. Right? You may not be at this site that you're at for the rest of your career. I will tell you that it is probable you will not stay at this site for the next 30 years. So, we want you to get a well-rounded view of how people do things as it relates to your ILP goals. Okay. If you are reviewing something from your preliminary classes, so I kind of have this theory about how we learn. And I kind of think as adults, we learn something when we need it, and when we don't need it, it gets forgotten. So you went through a whole bunch of classes, and you prepared for the test, and you passed the test, woohoo, and you moved on, and there's some things back in your credentialing class, you go, I didn't know what to talk about. But now all of a sudden you realize, gosh, I need what they were talking about. So you may go back to that book or those notes, and pull out, and read them, and review, and go, oh, now I get it. That's great. When you talk about a date, we want you to tell us in your journal, this is when I reviewed it. So if you put that on your pathway, I'm going to review my preliminary credentialing materials. We want you to tell us the date that you reviewed it. And then and we'll explain journals in a moment. All right. Any questions about pathways? One goal, multiple pathways, one outcome. All right, your pathway and your outcome are due by the end of October. So we wrote the goal tonight. You still have some time, so you don't have to think about everything tonight. I just want to explain how to do it. But you have plenty of time to write those goals and your outcome by the 28th. We think, though, that you may think of more things later on. That's a perfect opportunity to add to your ILP, particularly as we think about the December and March update. Your pathways and outcomes are due on the 28th. Your goal is due Friday. All right, let's talk about measurable outcomes. Remember, we repeated what I said. Teacher growth through the lens of student outcomes. So even if you're working on, I want to improve my transitions. I want to improve the time it takes to go from math to English. Or I want to improve the time it takes to go from a small group back to direct instruction. Okay, great. If you have improved your transitions, then it would follow that you have more instructional minutes to work with, correct? And if you have more instructional minutes to work with, then we would expect that your students are learning more. So we want you to think about measuring your growth through student outcomes that are tied to academics. Okay? So one of your goals, the outcomes can't be, I'm going to have 30% less referrals this year. Okay? Or I'm going to have no referrals this year, or whatever. It has to be tied to a student's academic outcome. All right. It has to be quantitative. You have to be able to measure it. How are we going to do that? You're required to have a pre-assessment and a summative assessment. The pre-assessment should be now or already have done. Okay? And a summative assessment sometime in late March. We're going to spend all of April putting all this data together for our presentation in May. So the minimum is 1 pre and 1 summative. But some of you may think, gosh, I would like to have a series of pre and summative assessments. And we think that's okay too. So you're going to ask the question, well, what do you want? And I'm going to tell you, it has to make sense to you. Okay? It has to make sense to you. So if you're going to do pre and summative for each chapter or for each unit, great. If you want to do one overarching theme for the year, and you want to have a pre-assessment now and a summative in March, that's okay too. So that's one set of data. The rubric that we're going to use says that you have to have multiple sets of data. Okay? On your journal, in addition to your pre and summative, which will be also part of your presentation, we want you to pick 3 focus students. You should have an EL, a special ed, and one of your choosing. An EL, a SPED, and one of your choosing. Now it's possible that you don't have an EL in your classroom, and that's okay. But we want you to use one if you do. They must be tested and be designated EL based on the LPAC. Did I say that right? LPAC. I always think of LPAC. LPAC, okay. But special ed doesn't necessarily mean that they're on an SST or 504. Or IEP and 504, excuse me. Because we have kindergarten students, for instance, that haven't even been tested yet. Or we have parents that know that there's some challenges with their child, but they don't want them tested because they don't want the label. All right? So, you can designate what we're calling our special ed student as somebody that is an outlier. And that could be behavior or academics, but not language, unless it's a speech issue. Okay? And that also could include somebody that's overachieving, or that what we used to call gifted and talented. Okay? If you have a math lesson that's supposed to last 20 minutes, and your high-achieving student gets it done in 6, what are they going to do for the other 14 minutes? Cause you all kind of pain. So how are you going to make sure that that student's needs is being met? You can choose that person if you want to. All right? We want to see those 3 subcategories, because that's going to tell us how you're doing with all of your ELs and with all of your SPEDs and all with the ones that you have chosen. You represent a continual subgroup. So, having said that, let me get on my soapbox for a moment. You went through credentialing. You heard student achievement gap. And if you haven't heard it in your credentialing, it's in every newspaper, in every educational publication. It's a big issue. Student achievement gap. Turn to the person sitting next to you and explain what a student achievement gap is. Three, two, one. All right, listen up. The achievement gap says that there are subgroups that are competing against one another, and they're going to tell you that middle and upper class white and Asian students are far outperforming those that are in lower socioeconomics, those that are of color, those that have foster care, on and on and on. There's a list. Okay, and language is another one. All right? There's a big gap. Did you know that Madera County is one of the poorest counties in the state, with an average or median income somewhere around $42,000? Okay, not a lot of money. So, you're facing challenges in your classroom that other school districts in the area are not facing. There's good and bad with that. Okay? The good news is, when you reach one of these students, they soar like an eagle. Their potential for growth is enormous. And I promise you that your satisfaction, your job satisfaction, will go through the roof when you start reaching these kids and seeing them have their light bulbs come on and they're starting to soar. Okay? You're going to find being in Madera County more satisfying as a teacher than anywhere else. Why? Because you didn't come here for the money. It's good money, but it's, you know, I know math people, y'all could be making 6 figures. Science people, you could be making 6 figures times 3, right? You could be chemical analysis for DuPont and doing all kinds of crazy things, or you could work in marine biology and studying the ocean and the plastic islands and the jetty. And I mean, there's some crazy things you could do. We know that. You know that you came to teaching because you want to inspire students the way your favorite teacher inspired you. And there is no better place to do that than in Madera County. We want you to do your best and inspire these children to do the best they can do. So I want you to think about this. The students in your classroom deserve the best education they can possibly get. Right? Having said that, one of the things that we're hearing from our younger generation, and it used to be a guy thing and it is no more. What we're hearing and what my mentors are telling me is, you're telling the mentors, I got this. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And we don't want you to say that. I got this. Don't worry about it. I got to take care of it. You don't got this. The truth is you don't even know the questions to ask yet, let alone the answers. There is so much to learn in this profession. Okay? We want you to ask all kinds of questions and seek all kinds of advice and input so that you can get better, so that the students get better. Because we have this challenge of closing this achievement gap. There's a reason why this achievement gap is here. The support, it's simple. The support systems at home are not the same support systems that you have for students that are achieving at a higher level of guild. You don't have 2 college-educated parents at home that can help them with their chemistry. Actually, they don't have that in my house either. I can't help you. Right? But, I'm real honest, my daughter needed a computer. I punched 3 buttons on Amazon and ordered a computer. You just needed to get done. Your parents that are in your classroom probably can't do that for your students. They don't come to school with computer knowledge and skills and how to use all that. You have to teach them. Right? But when they get it, it's going to be awesome. I like to think of teachers as actually being lifesavers. Right? Think about the literacy rate of our 2 prisons over here in Chowchilla. They're abysmal. But when you can reach a kid and teach them how to read, you've saved their life. And you instill confidence. We talk about confidence, and it bugs me when I see how we give participation ribbons to our kiddie sports league, right? There's no first place, there's second place, there's just participation. Nah. There's competition in the real world. And the way you get self-confidence is overcoming barriers, overcoming challenges. As parents, we want to remove all these painful experiences. I'm not sure that's such a wise choice. I think our kids should struggle a little bit. And you know, you think about, here I got PE teachers, hey, can I lift, like 5 pounds and be buff? What do I got to do? What do they say? No pain, no gain. Hey, it's through the struggles of life that I find out that I'm really pretty strong and pretty sufficient and I can do this. And when your kids overcome the struggles that you're going to help them do, awesome. But you can't do it alone. You cannot do it alone. You need some help. And your mentors here tonight, they're getting paid a little bit of money, but if I really divided it up by minimum wage, we're not going to eat tomorrow. Okay? It's a nice, polite way of saying thank you, but that's about it. They can go to Starbucks a couple of extra times a month. That's They're here because they care about you and they want to help you. Don't shut them out with a, I got this, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. Ask for help, ask for input, ask for advice. And I told you the story of Michael Phelps at induction orientation. In my opinion, the greatest Olympian of all time, but certainly you would agree, I think, the greatest swimmer, Olympic swimmer of all time, with 29 medals and 23 gold. How much effort did he put in to shave 3 or 4 100ths of a second off the 50-meter club? Strength coach, nutrition coach, sports psychologist, swim coach, all kinds of workouts and tools and dedication in the pool for how many hours a day, 3, 4 100ths of a second faster so you can win. And I asked the question in the room today, if anyone feel totally inspired to do what you're doing today because of Michael Phelps? No. It was nice to watch him for 40 seconds on the TV. Yay, we won. Okay, good for Michael. All right, what's next? But tonight we talked about your favorite teacher. And here we are, 10, 15, 20, 40 years later. For me, I still remember my favorite teacher who challenged and inspired us to be great. And now you get to do that. What are you going to do to get better? To shave those 3 or 4 100ths of a second off. Some of you tonight, you're standing at the 9-yard line and it's 1st and goal. Great. How are you going to cover those 9 yards to get to the finish line? And some of you are at the other end and you've got 99 yards to go. And that's okay too. How are you going to throw a long ball? How are you going to get down the field? How are you going to get coached up and ask for help? Okay? Your coach is here tonight, and they care about you and want you to succeed and be the best that you can be. So please, don't say, I got this, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. Get those words out of your vocabulary. Let's talk about your journals. All right. Let me, one of the things that I'm trying to do as a person is take ownership of my mistakes. Unfortunately, I seem to make a lot of them, and I got to take a lot of ownership. 3 years ago, we sat down with my English teachers and we wrote this program based on the standards that CPC gave us. And we we said, boy, wouldn't it be great if we had 7 journals? Yeah, 7 journals. And so we put it on the calendar, and sure enough, there were 6 months for 7 journals. Oops. I didn't have a math teacher on my panel. I should have had a math teacher. Didn't count. Okay. So I said that first year, let's write a journal in April. Disaster. Because April needs to be about collecting our data and analyzing it and getting ready for the presentation. And a journal is still about gathering the data. All right, so that didn't work. The second year came, and I said, well, let's write a journal in August. Because we haven't written our ILP goals yet. And so last year we tried it, and then it was a disaster. Okay. This year I said, write an August journal, but don't worry about evidence. But I have 130 in the program plus another 100 and something mentors. And I've learned one thing in my 10 years of this job, or 9 years, is if I make a decision, I got to stick with it, because if I change my mind too fast, then everybody gets confused. All right? So I already know that your August journals are a disaster.
I thought we were doing August, September.
August journal was in the classroom as an assignment. I even said don't do any evidence. Some of you, because of where you started, it's a disaster. Just don't worry about it. If you got it in there, my readers are going to correct it as in, yay, you did it. Next year there will not be an August journal. However, we found this number of 14 to 21 pieces of evidence for the entire year to be perfect. It's in the butter zone. Our data shows that this is what we need. Okay? Having said that, I would like for you to include an extra piece of evidence for September and October. So instead of 2 to 3, we want at least a minimum of 3 to 4. Because we still need to get to that 14 to 21 number at the end of the year. All right? On your journal, you'll notice that there was a box that said just in time, and that's talking about what's going on in the classroom. How do I get a sub? How do I put grades in the grade book? How do we decorate our class? What's back to school night? What are parent-teacher conferences? All those kind of things are in the just-in-time questions. In long-term analysis, it's about your goals. So you're talking about your goals every week. So a couple of things that come up. Number one, question is, can we meet during lunch? 20 minutes at a time. And the answer is no. Here's why. I want my mentors to visit with you, to get to know you. There are times even where you won't even talk about stuff that has to do with Nick. You're just going to, I told them this, their mentors are going to bring vomit bags and you're going to emotionally vomit. And they're going to clean it up and move on. That's their job. We don't expect that to happen all the time, but I know that in this room, some of you second years went home last year at some point, and you were crying because you were so frustrated and fed up and tired of this, and somebody said one more bad thing, and you were like, ugh. So we've given you somebody that you can go and just let it all out. Okay? My mentors are instructed to build a relationship with you, and we expect that at every meeting they're going to spend 5 or 10 minutes visiting with you. It's human nature. But if we're meeting 20 minutes a time for 3 times a week, and you're visiting 10 minutes each time, that's 30 minutes of visiting and only 30 minutes of mentoring. Feel my problem? It's like 10 minutes of visiting and 50 minutes of mentoring. Okay? So you're required to meet an hour a week. I will tell you that we did something a little different this year than last. I've asked my mentors to read your journals before you turn them in. And there's a reason for that. We are trying to provide a little more accountability. So we know that the journal will be due on Friday, and you normally meet on Wednesday, and your mentor will say on Monday, don't forget, I need to see your journal on Wednesday, it's due on Friday. And some of you are going to go, oh crap. And on Tuesday night till midnight, you're going to be hammering it out and getting it done. Not the way I want it done, but at least it's getting done. What I don't want is for September's journal to be turned in November and December. Because we're hoping that you're having that, wow, aha moment of, my kiddos didn't get it, I need to reteach or readjust or rethink this. And if that came in December when it should have came in September, we missed the boat, and now you're planning for next year. So we want this to be in real time, this analysis, this reflection that you're doing to happen in real time by the end of the month. Here's how some of my induction candidates and mentors are making this work. They're both bringing their laptops, they're both opening their documents, my mentors, their collaboration logs, my induction candidates, their journals. And my mentors are writing bullet points in the just in time and in the long-term analysis. And my induction candidates are writing notes in their journal as it's happening. And then, the last week of the month, they're taking 20 or 30, 40 minutes to look at the data and kind of throw it in there and make it look right and write it up and put it in the journal. Those of you that are not doing that are spending an hour to 2 hours on that last week, typing it up and hoping to get it in on time. Here's the difference. If you see this program as a credential program and I just got to check the box and get through it, you will get very little out of this. If you see this as an opportunity to grow as a person and as a teacher, you're going to get a whole lot out of this. What you're going to get out of it, what you put in. Okay? And I can't make you get something out of this. I can only provide an opportunity for you to think and grow and reflect. So we revised all of the things that we do so that there are really conversational-based mentoring. You're constantly being challenged by your mentor to think about, what am I doing? Is it working? And how can I do it better? Or this is not working. What else can I try? That's what we want. And you're writing about that all the time. My best teachers already do that. They just may not write it down. Okay? I guarantee you, veteran teachers in the room tonight, they go home thinking about, man, that didn't work, and I got to think about it again, and I know that Johnny didn't get it. What am I going to do tomorrow? And they're thinking about, how do I get to that? And even on the weekends, they're kind of thinking about it. What do I do? And even during the summer, boy, I'm really excited about, and this would be great for, and looking for ideas. We know that's occurring all the time. Okay? They're just not writing it down the way we're asking you to write it down. Okay? We want you to use your pathways as the evidence. So if you're analyzing student work, throw the work in the journal. You can add it, or you can scan it in. Okay? You can attach it just like an email. You can, if you're a music teacher, we've had short clips of music. PE, we've had video or pictures. First grade teachers, if you're doing a reading lesson that doesn't require any writing, we've seen pictures of the easel and the questions and the discussion and the carpet and then telling us what's going on and what's working and what isn't working. All of this is considered what we think of as evidence. Okay? Maybe you are coming to, it says Fred Jones in the list, but we now changed that to the Middle Classroom Management Method. And you're coming to that and you realize, boy, I need to redo my room. And so you take a before picture and an after picture of how you redid your room and how you're walking it and how does it make any difference. And you're reflecting on that. Okay? And we think it's just as valuable to find out what doesn't work as what does. And when you've been teaching long enough, you're going to find out that what word worked last year doesn't work this year because you have a different set of kids, but will work next year. So you just file that one away and come up with a different way of coming out at the same end, different strategy. Okay? All of this is the evidence that we're asking you to compile on your journal. I will tell you this. Our data shows a strong correlation between those that procrastinate and turn journals in late and those that fail the presentation at the end of the year. And what it tells me is I have teachers that are just trying to check the box. We'll catch it. The data will show it. We really will catch you. Don't do that. Do the journals on time. Really think about what's going on. How do I get better? How do I meet the needs of my students? All right. Questions about journals. There are going to be 6 that we're going to grade. We need 14 to 21 pieces of evidence at the end of the year. Why? You're going to present your growth to a panel. And while you will not use all 14 to 21 pieces of evidence, you will choose the ESPN highlights of the year and tell you how awesome you are and how incredible of a good teacher you are because of our program. You give us all the credit, and you'll bow down before me and name your first kid at my school. Let's see if you're listening. I know I'm losing you. All right. Questions? So can I get you a little soundbite in? You can turn in anything that you could attach in an email, you can attach it in Google Classroom. Pictures, videos, whatever you want to put in there. Okay. If you go to Kagan training and you're part of your evidence, just tell me the date you went. I don't need the sign-in sheet or the agenda or anything like that. We're adults, we believe you went. But what I really want to know is how you're using it and how it's making a difference. Amanda, are they offering Kagan training or are they offering Kagan
Yes, we did.